And welcome back to part 19 of Dragonstar Varnir's Madness route, where today we're clearing out the entirety of the Forest of Death. And if you recall from the main playthrough I did 9 odd months ago, that video when I covered the Forest of Death was like the longest video in the project. It was like 53 minutes long. Yet in contrast on this run, it's like the shortest video of the project. That's because I'm not worrying about anything else, I'm just trying to get through it now. So I just kind of go through, do what I can, try not to get too unlucky as I immediately get a death invitation, which has a very low chance of connect with me, because of course it does, meaning Charlotta tanked an instant kill. And just try and get through and get all the loot and take on the optional mini boss that's like you have to take a left instead of a right at the start, and just go from there. And I think what also helped as well is that on the main playthrough, this dungeon was the dungeon that was determined to not let me through because it crashed and I had a berserk transformation instead of a dragon transformation, which a berserk transformation adds to the madness scale. So it threw it out, it threw the whole run out of order because I needed to keep my madness at 0 for the true ending. Which I know in hindsight you can actually have your madness go quite high. It's more focused on making sure the 3 kids stay alive than anything else. But it's still a matter of fact I wanted to keep it at 0 for that let's play, and so every time I got a berserk form I reset, so I ended up having to do this dungeon 3 times, so it was a very dragged out long video. Whilst this, there's a lot of encounters which are very samey but ended up taking a while, so my recording was about 32 minutes long, and I expected to cut it down to like 25, 26, not, you know, just under 17 minutes. So that's what made this video so short, but I'll take it. The fact that I didn't have any trouble whatsoever going through the Forest of Death other than, you know, the encounters taking a while, I'll take it, because it beats crashing again, and it beats having to get a run null and voided because of a berserk form. Which, if you didn't watch the main playthrough and are curious as to what I mean, every time your bar fills up, which automatically fills up after every turn, your dragon bar reaches full and you enter a dragonic form, the lower your health is when you go into it, the higher your chance you'll instead go into a berserker form, where you have extra attack, extra defense, like than normal, gain extra experience for every enemy you kill, but you don't really have control of your character. It's like they're pseudo confused. It's not as strong as confusion where it takes away, but just they'll be a little unruly at times and can harm teammates, and because they're even more bumped up than the dragon forms, God help you in some instances. I've never had a Chrome Lodger clone itself off of someone in a berserk form though, and I'm kind of curious to see just how much damage they could do if they can, but at the same time it can wait. Speaking of, although very unlikely, Chrome Lodgers can spawn here. I don't get a single one during this, but just be on the lookout as we fight the mini boss. Which, to be fair, this guy isn't too bad. Just like soften up a little bit with ground-based attacks and then push for the Devour and you'll get it. But I use, like here, I use one with Manessa again, and then I immediately just push for the Devour Charlotta, and it's enough to get it. I even use Earth Eater to boost your chances. Yeah, over 50%. Yeah, there we go. That wasn't tough at all. Also worth mentioning that there is not 1 but 2 enemies in this dungeon now that will drop Party All Healing, which is a stronger version than Healing All.
My turn.
Not by much, it's only by 300 extra health, but it will make the difference. Being able to heal 1500 instead of 1200 can really make the difference. So if you can, get a hold of it. I think it's a lesser demon, which I'll point, or a lesser dragon, or something along that name, that will drop it if you can get it. But that's only 1 of 2. There's another one as well, and I did get it, but it's slipping my mind right now which demon, or dragon, sorry, I actually found it on. Because all that mattered for me was just making sure Manessa has it so she can carry on being primary healer. Which eventually led to me going to put on the Party All, realizing that it went over on the amount of points you're allowed to spend. So having to like lower to a weaker wind spell, like I think I take away Tornado and give her the weaker version just so she can put it on. Then I accidentally put on Greater Healing and don't realize for the next 3 fights. And then eventually I went into a fight, noticed, like, went to do a party heal, realized I didn't have a party heal, and went, uh-oh. But no, like, just pay attention a little bit more. I think I even keep it in, me just quickly menuing to put it on later on in the video, so you'll be able to see what I mean when I get to it. But yeah, despite some of the encounters being longer, this actually ended up not being that long, and so I'm very grateful after how long of a video it was last time. Like, seeing something you did one time take you like 50 odd minutes, and then seeing it next time take 30, like the improvements in the recording, you know? And even in that 50-minute video, I was editing out encounters. So that was 50 minutes after edited out encounters. Well, this is now 17 minutes after edited out encounters, but 30 odd minutes without. I think these wyverns can drop it as well, but good luck getting one, because they have very high defense, and after a couple turns they will self-destruct. If all of them decide to self-destruct on the same turn, someone's dying. Case in point, there goes Manessa. And I'm also going to start running out of like revival items, so we're going to have to stop being a bit more reliant on Zephy's relief, or alternatively give relief to someone else so more than one character has it. And I say that almost every enemy here is weak to light, so make sure everyone has Light Eater on them. I do, because I remembered from the main one that everyone here is weak. Almost everything here is weak to light. But also be wary that almost everything here has higher evasion than what you might be used to, so don't be surprised if it takes you longer than you expect it to get a Devour off.
Sorry.
My turn.
Of course, just saying that I immediately get it twice in a row, but just pay attention with that. Like, there we go. Just be wary that you're not always going to get it. Sometimes you'll go quite a while, and with how much more punishing the Forest of Death is, as I said in the main playthrough, and I'll say it again, this is the biggest spike in difficulty you're gonna face in the game. Throughout the course of the game, there's several points where the difficulty will take a jump up. Like, you have a couple dungeons in a row where the difficulty is around the same. And it's usually around the temples that they jump up. Like, when you go to the first star temple, it bumps up in difficulty a little bit. When you go up to the second one, it bumps up a little bit. But because you go such a long stretch between the second and third temple, they bump up the difficulty in Forest of Death instead. And the bump up of difficulty going into the Forest of Death is the most significant and most noticeable. You'll see throughout this video, most encounters, even though I said I've edited them out because a lot of them were far longer and were against enemies we've already fought, you'll see as soon as the fight ends, I immediately pause, go to skills and use auto healing. Because they just kicked the shit out of me. Everyone always went through the fight and ended up on relatively low health. Yes, a lot of these fights I'm just pushing Devour to try and get through it. But I am still, like, obviously healing when I need to, defending when I need to, pushing for the Devour only when it's safe, or when I feel I can get away with it. Like, I'm not just spamming Devour and hoping, and then ending the fight nearly dead. No, it is actually some of these fights I'm having to go to town with to survive, and then ending the fight and someone's, like, nearly dead. Thankfully, I didn't have anyone actually dead by the end of a fight, because that was annoying with Manessa in the previous video, when Manessa died and then we finished the fight, and it was a really good experience-based one, which is why Manessa's now slightly behind everyone. Like, everyone will level up in one fight, and then Manessa will level up in the next fight. Like, it's really minor, but it's there.
Let's go.
And it's also against these guys, which I'm glad I actually bumped into, because on the main playthrough, I need to stop saying main playthrough, because this is a main in its own way, I suppose. It's just the other playthrough, the true ending, is, you know, the canonical one, per se, whilst this is just the non-canonical one where things go to hell.
Ready?
Then I say that this game doesn't have a sequel. They might turn around and say, oh, the Madness ending is canon, screw you. Which would be awful. That would be so mean if they did that. Oh yeah, this is when I noticed. I was like, oh, I don't have the healing skill I'm supposed to have on her. There's party all. So now I have a slightly stronger heal on the party. It's only by 300, but that can make the difference where everyone's got more health than they used to anyway.
I wonder if this is useful.
And keep in mind, it's just average 1500, so it won't be dead on, it will just be hovering around it. So having it be a higher average than 1200 is just, it's welcomed. Oh, is this me? Oh, yeah, I almost do it on instinct. You'll see after each encounter, I just immediately just pause, skills, square, go. But we haven't actually got much left of this madness route. I wouldn't be surprised if we finish it this week. And then after that, all that's left to showcase is the normal playthrough. Which, I'll say that I won't do the whole playthrough, obviously. It's just going to be a showcase of the ending of what's different in the normal playthrough. But that won't be straight away, because I can't find the save I had that was just before the fight against Corbaria, because the fight against Corbaria between chapter 10 and 11, as I've said before, is the decider on what ending you've got. I can't find that save, so I might have to do the whole game again. And if that's the case, I'll probably just race through it on easy or something just to get there and whatnot, but it means I'm going to have to do another playthrough of this game regardless. So that might not be straight away, it might be a short gap between it. But after that, depending on my mood, I might just so we can wrap it up in a nicer way, showcase the Charlotta dating ending one last time for old time's sake, but that's a huge on the fence maybe, because if I'm doing the normal run and rushing through on easy again anyway, I'm not going to have the spirit to do much else beyond that, because I'm going to burn out of this game eventually. Especially with it being a decently sized JRPG. Like, it's not super duper long, like you know, say like a Persona game or like a Tales of game, but it's a healthy length. Doing it yet another time just for one little thing at the end, I'm not gonna, if it goes down to that. So it might just be showcasing the normal ending and then calling it a day, and just being, if you want to see the true ending, watch it. Bit of self-advertising. But because the Corbaria is the turning point, and this is chapter 9, like I say, it's between chapter 10 and 11, we really don't have much left. The Forest of Death should be wrapped up next part, because we do the main stretch, we just don't do the boss. So the boss will be next time, and the cutscenes that follow. Then it will be the final Star Temple, which is big, to be fair, so that will probably take a video. And then it'll be Corbaria, and the guide that I've been on and off glancing at to make sure I'm not missing anything with the madness route stops saying anything after Corbaria, which makes me think it ends after Corbaria. You just go straight to the madness ending. You don't return to the Sanctuary Cave to go into the Star Cave. You don't go to the Womb, the true final dungeon. You don't fight the final boss. Just after Corbaria, you go into the madness ending, which makes sense because it is, you know, the bad ending, and a lot of games have bad endings end prematurely, just so then you're encouraged to go back to it. You're encouraged to go for the true ending to get, you know, more content instead of it just being a different cutscene. Which is another thing that eventually, when the inevitable PS5 remaster of the second Neptunia game comes around, I'll be criticizing heavily, because that game has like 10 or 11 endings, and all of them are just a different scene at the end of the game after the final boss, and so they just blend into one another, and none of them feel satisfying, even the true ending, because they are just, you do it and it's like, okay, you've done that box, ticked, okay, do you want to go for another one? The only one that's really standout different is the Conquest ending, because that ending's miserable. That ending is truly miserable. They just decide for no reason, let's go extremely dark all of a sudden in a Neptunia game and have an ending where you have to kill all your friends to power up a sword to defeat the evil. And then at the end of it go, was it worth it? And then wrap up the game. You go, hang on, what? This is a Neptunia game. But yeah, they just have that ending for some goddamn reason. I probably won't showcase it because with Nep 2, like in my review, I did say as a whole I prefer it, I just have more problems. But as time's gone on, I think the original is better than the second one. I just like what the second one establishes in the formula. Like, the second game was a lot more of an execution, whilst the first game was an idea. But some of the ideas the first game did was just loose enough that it made it a more fun, casual game. Whilst the second game really, really screws with you. Especially if you're trying to go for completion. Like, the second game becomes extremely tiring if you're going for completion, because you have to do so many things just for one ending, and then you realise you have to do 10 other drastically different things for each ending, and certain endings will be locked out from ever getting ever again if you go for them early. Like, there are certain endings which will only work if your friendless level with everyone is really low, but other endings require to be super high. Your friendship level will carry over between New Game Plus runs, so if you go for the friendship ones first, you have to start from fresh to get the other ones. It's a whole thing. It's an absolute nightmare with Nep 2, and it just makes the game more frustrating, and then so it's like, well, if I just want to play Nep 1 and do a casual run of it, I can. Whilst Nep 2, if you're doing a casual run of that, Well, I hope you're prepared to just have the normal ending or a bad ending, because there's so many micromanaging things you have to be wary of to get a better ending.
My turn.
Like, the game as a whole is, like, better, I'd say. It's just in terms of ease of enjoyment and getting into it, it's the whole Castlevania Lament of Innocence to Curse of Darkness thing again. Where Lament of Innocence
Failed?
is not as good as Curse of Darkness, but Lament of Innocence is also like half the length and you can do it in a day. So it's easier to just say, just hop on Lament of Innocence and play it and just go through it and have a blast. Whilst Curse of Darkness, you're in it for the long haul. Like, it's a better game, but you're playing it for a long stretch. Which, to be fair, are two games I do hope I get to cover one day. If Sony ever do full-on backwards compatibility, they're things on the bucket list, along with a lot of other stuff that I'd want to cover. But that being said, we're at the end of the actual gameplay portion of this video, so the rest of this is me just going through my skills more. There's the other thing, it's the Skeleton King, which is the dragons that have more horns off them, that are like one-off. They're the other enemy that drop party all. So if you can't get it from the Lessers, you can get it from them. The Born Lesser, that's the enemy. I even show it, the Born Lesser, that's the other enemy that drops party all. So if you're looking for the stronger party all heal skill, look for those two in this area. Obviously, if you're going for the true ending, you're still under a bit of a time limit, but you're nearing the end of that time limit now. As I keep saying, Corbaria is the edge of it. Corbaria is the marker. Once you're on the other side of Corbaria, the time limit ceases. The kids will never build up the meat or never get hungry again. You're locked into your ending. So you can use that to your advantage, and as soon as you beat Corbaria, immediately come back to the Forest of Death to get it if you miss it. So if you miss it on your first run, don't lose sleep over it, because you're not that far away from being able to get it more freely. That being said, even though this was a bit of a shorter video, because it was just a bit shorter than I thought it would be, I'm going to wrap it up here. So next time on Dragonstar VARNIR, we finish off the Forest of Death to try and make it to this place Charlotta wanted us to be. But until then, you guys take care now. Peace.